If I told you how I came this far and all the things that I've been through, need I tell you that I've been to hell? I've seen it all and done it all. Growing up as a child. Here we stand as a people with one song, with one voice. We're a nation undivided and poised. We will take a stand and build our land in faith to defend what is ours. Here we are as a people with one heart for one cause. We're determined to rebuild and restore.
Good morning, everyone. I am so excited to see all of us in the house. Thank you so much for doing this for us. This is June 12th, and I should actually say Happy Democracy Day to all Nigerians. Either you're living in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria. Today is June 12th, and we are observing our Democracy Day, and I'm so excited to have all of you in the house. So my name is Buki Femi Ajala, the Country Executive Director for the Institute for National Transformation. And without further ado, we would like to start this event, and we will start with our national anthem. Thank you. The national anthem, please. Thank you once again. Nigeria is a blessed country, and we pray as we take action that Nigeria will be blessed, as our national anthem has said. Once again, we want to welcome you to the Summit 25. This is organized by the Institute for National Transformation Nigeria. And my name is Buki Femi Ajala, the Country Executive Director for Nigeria. And like I said, we do not want to waste so much time. I want to hand over this event to the moderator, but just spare me 1 minute to read our bio. Yes, I would like you to meet Oluyomi Taiwo Adejumo. She's actually the chairperson of the Summit 2025. She's a passionate advocate for the Elite Responsibility in Nation Building. She's the founder of the Elitist Shift Foundation, TESF, an elitist mind shift coaching and advocacy initiative with the Catch Awake, Reset, Rebuild. She's an author of The Arise Elite, a seasoned global social entrepreneur in the design and hospitality sector, with a heart for transformation, using our coaching, mentoring, and training skills for all, especially youths and widows. She's also the CEO of the Quiet Pools Residence, and of course, for the Trade and Resource Limited, a grief therapist counselor, and the founder of the Widows Evolve Initiative. Actually, she's also a widow, and she's graced with 2 wonderful sons. We popularly call her Mama or Lady T. She has facilitated in the INT faculty since 2010. Now she's serving on the board of the Institute in Nigeria. A voice of faith and insights is shared via physical and online medium like the Oath Speak Life. Our qualifications in humanities, law, interior design, theology, and entrepreneurship, and recently the MBA leadership, and of course the coaching and mentoring gives the deep insight and knowledge to share this year's Summit 2025. The theme, the Elite Architect of Change, we want to welcome you to this. Please join me in welcoming our incomparable lady, Lady T. Please do take over. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Femi Ajala, our CD in Nigeria. It is an honor to be a moderator at this important summit, a beacon and light to the elites to become architects of change with a heart. I am deeply humbled. Greetings to my esteemed INT family and leaders, Oak Seeds and alumni, and our great, wonderful team who put this together. To our wonderful online audience, you're once again welcome. Welcome to the Summit 2025. Today, by God's move, launches a new voice, a new language in INT and in our nation, Nigeria. It is therefore with great joy that I will be introducing a man I truly admire and respect. He will be giving the welcome address and a very, very loud applause and welcome to our own very board chairman in Nigeria, Dr. Philip Igbinijesu. Welcome, sir. Dr. Philip Igbinijesu is a graduate of the Oak Seed Executive Leadership course, a class 001 student, graduate, we should call it now, which is the pioneer class, a faculty member and also the chairman, board of directors of the Institute for National Transformation, Nigeria. Besides his other engagements, he is the executive director of SHAPE Empowerment Foundation, the umbrella organization through which he and the ministry he presides over, a senior pastor, ward assembly, engages in several social intervention programs. Welcome, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What a day to be here. To say I'm excited would be an understatement.
I've looked forward to this day with so much expectation because of its very nature. What an exciting season we are in the annals of our dear country, Nigeria. I am particularly excited because of the wisdom of God that has put this together at this critical juncture of our nation's historical trajectory. I want to appreciate the chairperson of the planning committee, our own special, permit me to call her the way we love to call her, Lady T, and of course the executive team, and our new president of the alumni, Mr. Segun Adaju and his team, and of course all the distinguished leaders of this great organization, the faculty, the very important, very cerebral faculty, very experienced faculty, true game changers in their own very respective rights. It's a sincere delight to be here. My job today is very simple, is to do a very brief welcome remark and to get this important discourse going. I would like to read just one portion of scriptures. Like you may know, the Institute for National Transformation takes a lot of its principles and practices from the Holy Bible. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22 and verse 30, I'm reading from the New International Version. The Bible says, I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land, so I would not have to destroy it, but I found none. All through the history of transformation of nations, one thing has always stood out consistently. Things change because citizens, patriots, arise, seize the gauntlet, take the challenge, begin some processes, and then marshal a social change that then becomes more of the norm than an exception. And little by little, like we say in INT, every man building the wall in front of them, the nation, the city, the organization is transformed. I'm so excited that God has found the Institute for National Transformation amongst the many others that He's using across the breadth and land. And of course, from the Institute, our biggest pride is not only in doing a very rigorous training, but we ensure that each of the graduates of this great organization engage in specific social change processes or areas where they are burdened or passionate about. And that is why today we are excited to also select a number of people to come speak to us on what they see, what they know, what they believe must be done in order to effect the much needed change that we desire for our dear nation, Nigeria. I know this is going to be a very rich discourse, and may I please implore you, we're yet quite few with respect to the number I'm expecting. If you can, on your phone or any other device, let somebody know that this great meeting has started. We have some very high-profile speakers, men and women whose lives and works are the very kind of thing INT is talking about. They're going to be talking to us experientially and inspirationally. And we have a set of people, our leaders, who are going to be talking to us and taking on the questions. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad that Ezekiel 22:30 finds expression through INT and the many more people. The charge and the challenge of today is that if a land is to change, if a land is to avoid the debacle, the destruction, the decimation, and all kinds of issues that many nations suffer, then there must be people who will arise, take the challenge, fill up the gap, do all that is required, put themselves out sacrificially, consistently, passionately, until the very ideals that is desired and that is designed for the nation finds full expression. It is on that note, I want to again welcome everybody to this very important meeting. I do believe that you are going to be thoroughly inspired. There's going to be room for questions. The moderator, we have an excellent moderator who is going to guide us through this process. And just before I then hand over, it's my singular honor and privilege to recognize and introduce a man whom I met by divine providence in Atlanta. And I'm more than excited. Everything I am today has been materially shifted and impacted because of that divine arrangement to meet Professor Vincent Anigbogu. I can't go into all the details. I'll take too much time. I have a little time allotted. Professor Vincent Anigbogu is the founding international director general of the Institute for National Transformation. Born in October 1954, he earned BSc in chemistry in 78 and MSc in analytical chemistry in 81 from Indiana University, Pennsylvania. He obtained his PhD in analytical chemistry in 1986 from the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He taught analytical chemistry for over 20 years from 1980 to 2004 at 4 different universities in the United States of America. In 2006, he returned to Nigeria, permit me to say, at the inspiration of the Lord, to focus on leadership and management development in Africa. In 2007, he founded the Institute for National Transformation, INT, in Lagos, serving as its Director General. INT has since expanded to several nations: Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, Ivory Coast, the US, UK, and of course, many other places. In 2021, he became a distinguished professor of Akwa Ibom State University. He also became the pioneer executive director of the Center for Ethical and Moral Leadership, CEMOL, focusing on value-based leadership for students, faculty, and staff. He has worked with the Akwa Ibom State government, the Nigerian Navy, Technological Manufacturing Center. He has the Technological and Manufacturing Center in Uganda, the Godi Tulip Hotel Management, Mountaintop Universities, Brick Properties, Dominion City Leaders, Green Spring School, and several other institutions across the length and breadth of Africa. In October 2023, he introduced INT's Youth Empowerment in Agripreneurship Program, YIP, to Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, leading to the establishment of the Busetema University Agro-Entrepreneurship Center, BUAEC, in May 2024. He has been married to our beloved Chief of Administration, a woman we love so much. I'm sure you get to meet her along the line, Mama Peggy, for over 32 years. And they work globally as consultants to businesses, governments, universities, and churches. He is passionate about Africa's transformation and fulfilling God's vision for people of African descent. Please meet my lecturer, a fantastic African of great repute in the person of Professor Chinedu Vincent Anigbogu. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me celebrate our dear DJ. Over to you.
Is DJ in the house?
He's muted. Somebody please unmute him. Professor Anigbogu, you are speaking, but we are not hearing you because you are muted.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Wow,
sir.
you all look beautiful, and I'm so excited about what God is doing this morning. I want to congratulate the leadership of INT Nigeria, and especially Lady Taiwo Adejumo, who is actually the chair of this event. I don't have much time, so please, admin, allow me to just share my speech. It's very, very brief. Can everybody see it? If you can, just say yes, you can.
Yes,
very good.
Can you
Okay.
please make it a bit bigger, sir, so that people can read
Yes.
it?
Wait a minute, that's the wrong one. Let me quickly get my Please just give me 1 minute as I open my document. Okay. Okay. We're there. Okay, is it big enough for everybody to see? Is that large enough?
It's better now. Thank you so much, sir.
Excellent. I want to again celebrate with all Nigerians this June 12, 2025, which has been designated as a Democracy Day by Government of Nigeria. I also want to use this opportunity to welcome you to this INT Nigeria Summit 2025 with the theme Elites, Architects of Change. Elites, Architects of Change. But allow me to take you back to 75 years ago, when our founding fathers, the founding fathers of Nigeria, had a great dream. What was the dream? It was clearly expressed in our national anthem, and I have summarized that dream in the following 5 points. Number one, that though tribes and tongue may differ, but in brotherhood we stand. That truth and justice shall reign in Nigeria, both in times of peace and times of battle. That in God we trust to help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and that peace and plenty, Nigeria will be blessed. But most importantly, that we will hand over to our children a banner without stain. These are and should be the core values that should guide the development of Nigeria. But I'm sad to say that after 65 years, Nigeria is still struggling with weak governance that is soaked in what the former British Empire called fantastic corruption. I'm sad to announce that 65 years later, Nigeria is still struggling with insecurities, conflicts, insurgency, banditry, which has created instability and hindering economic growth, and over 7 million displaced population in Nigeria. 65 years later, Nigeria is still struggling with inadequate infrastructure, including electricity, poor roads, limited access to clean water, and sanitation. 65 years later, we are still struggling with terrible unemployment, with an education system where there's a mismatch between the skills of the workforce and the needs of the labor market. 65 years later, Nigeria is still struggling with limited economic diversification, focusing only on oil revenue, which has made our economy highly vulnerable. My compatriots, 65 years later, Nigeria is still struggling with poverty and inequity, high levels of poverty and income inequality, which hinders social mobility and creates unrest. 65 years after independence, we're still struggling with lack of access to education and healthcare. We are still limited by access to, we're limited access to inequality in education and healthcare, which restricts human capital development and reduces overall well-being of our nation and our people. And so with that, I would say Nigeria is still struggling with environmental degradation, pollution, deforestation, climate change, which poses significant threat to the environment and the well-being of our people. In the book Culture Matters, Harrison and Harrington emphasize that cultural values such as work ethics, education, social structure are more influential than geography, resources, or political systems in determining nations' success. Therefore, the quality of life in any nation depends more on the moral character of their people, principles upon which they build their lives, more so than the natural resources to which they've been endowed. And this is where the subject of the day comes in: elites as architects of change. Who are the elites? A small group of people within a group who have more power, more social standing, more wealth, more talent, and I must say more influence than the rest of the people. Examples of elites that have risen in their nation to change the cultural mindset of their people towards positive development. Nelson Mandela, he was a pivotal figure in dismantling apartheid and shaping a new South Africa. He negotiated with the apartheid government to end the system, leading to the first multi-racial election and his subsequent presidency. He played a key role in establishing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to address past human rights abuses and fostering national reconciliation, an elite that rose up. In fact, Nelson Mandela is known for his famous quotation, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I'm prepared to die." Elites that rose in their nations and developed their country. Mahatma Gandhi was another elite. Gandhi led the movement for the independence in India by using non-violent civil disobedience. His tactics drove the British from India, but he failed to wipe out ancient Indian religious and caste hatreds. Naturally shy and retiring, Mahatma Gandhi was a small, frail man with a high-pitched voice. And one of his famous quotations is, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Nigerian elites have to learn to lose themselves in the service of Nigerians. Another great elite is Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's first prime minister, spearheaded the nation's transformation from struggling multi-ethnic state to a thriving global economic power. He achieved this through a combination of pragmatic policies, strong leadership, and a focus on meritocracy and long-term planning. An elite who was trained in the UK brought the values of the UK, the Protestant values, and deployed them in Singapore with his team, and Singapore changed. One of his famous quotations is, "Even from my sick bed, and even if you are going to lower me into the grave, and I feel that something is going to go wrong, I will get up. Those who believe that after I have left government as a prime minister, I will go into a permanent retirement, really should have their heads examined. Who developed Singapore? Elites who were trained just like our elites, who copied the right values from where they studied and brought it home to change their nation. Another elite is Martin Luther King Jr. He was very pivotal in the American Civil Rights Movement. He was instrumental in ending segregation, achieving legal equality for African Americans. His leadership and advocacy for nonviolent resistance led to landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Acts Right of 1965. Martin Luther, the night before he died, gave us this famous quotation: "I've been to the mountaintop, I have looked over, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. For I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything, and I'm not fearing any man. For my eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." The following morning, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed in Memphis State. An elite that rose and served his people towards change. Nigeria will never be great and truly developed until her elites champion a moral crusade that will establish in every strata of the society the principles and the virtues of loyalty, integrity, excellence, and compassion. And so I close my remark with this appeal from the book of Nehemiah when he addressed the elites in Jerusalem. He said to them, "You see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies in waste. Its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the walls of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach." And I challenge elites of Nigeria, come, let us rebuild the broken walls of Nigeria, that we will no longer be the laughing stock of the world. I wish you very good summit. I pray you will learn and commit to do something by the end of the day. May the Lord bless you.
The moderator, Lady T. Your mic is muted, madam.
I'm to unmute it, yeah. Thank you so much for that, sir. We just heard very potent points on who the elites are and exactly how they should be responsible for national development. Thank you so much, Papa Prof, as we call you in INT. She said it all, and it's now time to move to our interactive session with very influential elites who will be speaking on different spheres of influence. It is an honor to introduce at this time our sister, an Oxford alumni 0012, and she will be speaking to us on in the sphere of education. Her name is Mrs. Alero Aida Otobo. She is an educationist and a very cerebral woman.
Alero Aida Otobo is a transformation strategist and founder of Incubator Africa, a platform that mobilizes reformers for national transformation. She currently serves as the CEO of the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. She is a key pillar of the Fix Politics Initiative and co-founded several reform-driven organizations, including Teach for Nigeria, ERIT, and the Imaginal Education Initiative. She is a graduate of Oxford University, University of London, and London Business School. Alero has led national reforms in education and health systems. A Chevening scholar, she has served on several boards including Union Bank, Health for Nigeria, and Slum to School Africa. Her book, Reformers Arise, and her global network RAN aim to inspire a new generation of African reformers.
Thank you so much. We welcome you, ma'am.
To fix things. And I will start. My name is Alero Aida Otobo. I'm a transformation strategist, a nation builder. I love to fix things. My name is Alero Aida Otobo. I'm a transformation strategist, a nation builder. I love to fix things. And I wear several hats, actually. I'm currently the CEO of the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. But I also sit on the boards of Slum to School, Teach for Nigeria as a co-founder and chair, as well as the Education Reform and Innovation team. And as I'm mentioning these different organizations, you can see a common thread through them. They're all in the education sector, as well as politics and governance. And those are my three core areas of focus at the moment. I decided when I heard that word elite that I'm not going to assume that I know what an elite is, and that I would do the usual research, Google. And I was pleasantly surprised to read the following, and I'm going to read them out. Why? Because for me, this does not quite define the kind of elite that takes responsibility for transforming nations or transforming sectors. So let me give you the first definition. Elite is a select group that is superior in terms of abilities, in terms of qualities to the rest of a group of society. So they're superior in ability or qualities to the rest of a group of society. And that's Cambridge.org. Britannica has a different definition. It says the people who have the most wealth and status in a society, the most successful or powerful group of people. So the question then that emerges, do we have this class of people in Nigeria and on the continent of Africa? And of course, the answer is yes. We have extremely wealthy people, extremely rich, well-educated, powerful, and they are meant to be taking responsibility for Nigeria, for the different states, the 36 states of Nigeria. They serve as governors, ministers, commissioners. So the question is, are they really the most educated, best educated, or best trained in the society? And my answer is no. No. And if you give me one more minute, I'll tell you why it's no. I think what has happened over the years is that we've got people who have run for office that may not be the best of the best. They may be well trained in other professions, but they have not been well trained in governance, in policy formulation, in policy execution, and even doing politics in general. Research clearly showed that we had people who were running for office, who were governing, and were not aligning or complying with the rules of governance. And when you don't do that in a nation, you destroy the fabric of that nation. That's the first point. The second point of who is an elite. I don't know that you've ever heard of the Navy SEALs, the US Navy SEALs, the elite corps, the best of the best. They're trained for 6 months, and they go through a week they call the Hell Week, that trains them for stamina, for resilience, for persistence, for never giving up. And these people, when they go through it, 90% at the end of the 6 months, 90% of those who sign on in month 1 have dropped out. So they only want people that have the capacity to be Navy SEALs. And that brings me to why they're called the elite corps, because of the kind of training they've been through. We need that kind of training for nation building on our continent, Africa, and in our nation, Nigeria. What do we need to take? Those that think that they're the best and most powerful and the richest. What kind of training do we need to take them through from when they are young children to when they go through university, so that at the end of it, they will have a mindset that says, I'm ready to govern and to transform my nation. I'll tell you what is missing currently in our curriculum. There isn't enough emphasis on character. So in the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, we have what we call the 3 C's. Character, competence, and capacity. Our educational system actually does quite well if you go through the private schools and quality public schools. You actually do quite well with competence. You come out with knowledge, you come out with some level of skills. The knowledge for mathematics, if you do well, English, you can speak English, geography, history. You come out knowing enough to pass WAEC, and if you get distinction or grade 1, you've done well. You go through our university system, 2-1. But the problem with the quality of our education now is that's a little weak on the character side. It's good with raising our students to have knowledge and skills, but it's weak with the impartation of values. At the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, we have what we call the 3 C's. 1, character. 2, competence. 3, capacity. Character education is weak in Nigeria as we currently teach it in our schools. We do not have a character education curriculum that ensures that every child that goes through it will come out with values that we uphold in our nation called Nigeria, the values that is in our pledge, the values that is in our national anthem. And what do I mean by that? Take, for example, a child that goes through the French system in France. They come out not just speaking French, but they have a certain persona. They have a certain DNA that you will know that this is a Frenchman or a French woman. The same is the US, the American system, the British system. If you go through the British system and you go through the British system and you go to the public schools, you will come out thinking in a particular way that tells you that you are here to govern your nation and you take responsibility for it. So that is why over time, Parliament is filled with people who have gone through the public schools in the UK. But in Nigeria, our children come out, and depending on whether you went to a private school or a public school, you cannot tell who is a Nigerian child. We don't have the DNA, we don't have what links connect all our children that we say this is a Nigerian child. And you will know that they have certain information, cultural context, cultural knowledge, that they will behave in a particular way that will say, yes, this is a well brought up, well-educated Nigerian child. Most of us, if you speak with an American accent, will have American mannerisms. If you speak with a British accent, you will have British mannerisms. But where is the Nigerian mannerism, the Nigerian DNA? So, in a nutshell, if you're going to reform, let's get character education in our curriculum, and that is going to be left to the I will say the educators. Foundational learning is key. Early childhood is key. Lay the right foundation and to be able to support the superstructure of secondary school and tertiary education, because the foundation is strong, the foundation is firm, the values have been learned. And that is why we have certain groups like Nucleus that is creating a Montessori that can be executed at the public school level, that is culturally relevant, so that the toys, the games they're playing is relevant for the cultural context of Nigeria, of Ghana, of Kenya. It's a whole new movement, but there's change happening, and I'm excited about that change, and I hope you are as well. Thank you very much for this great opportunity to talk and share my ideas and my thoughts with you.
Thank you. We just heard some key points on education and how elites can change that narrative. Who are we and how do we relate to the foundation using capacity, character, collaboration, and I heard influence? We move on quickly to the next speaker, another influential elite by the name of Praise Fowe. He will be speaking to us on the mountain of family, which is also known as social.
Praise Fowe is a globally respected family life coach and founder of the Praise Fowe Research LLC, a family life innovation hub based in Texas. He is the architect of the family systems engineering model and has helped over 130 organizations design culturally relevant parenting and child development systems. He has trained families and institutions across 5 continents, developed sexuality education toolkits, and led major curriculum design initiatives, including for Lagos State and Babcock University. A recipient of the U.S. President's Lifetime Achievement Award, Praise is the author of 11 books and leads the nonprofit House of Saviors.
Welcome, Praise Fowe. Welcome, Praise Fowe.
How are you today? My name is Praise Fowe. I'm the founder of the Institute of Family Engineering and Development. Now, we started this institute many years ago when we noticed the gap when it comes to skilled family life professionals across the continent of Africa. And you say why this is critical is because if Africa is going to grow, we have to look at the family systems that we practice. There is no leader today that is troubling our continent that did not emerge from a family. So when nations in Africa complain about their leadership or about the leadership structure, what we look at, we don't look at what is happening, we try to look at why and how. Because why takes you to the root cause, how shows you the pattern. And what we've seen consistently is that a lot of the people who traumatized in their nation were actually young people who were traumatized by their family. And that's why we believe that the most important nation on earth is your family, because your family is the production factory of a society. So if people understand how to build an effective family system, because systems drive your reality, many people do not know that there were systems subliminally in their families that shaped who they have become. And so if a family is a family that's built on empathy, you will raise wholesome children who become wholesome adults. But if there's a family that is full of trauma, that is full of fighting, that is full of all sorts, you are going to produce traumatized children who become traumatized adults, and they're going to traumatize people. So when people talk about their leadership and bad about their leadership, I always say that the leaders in Africa were picked from African families. So what system is churning out these people? Because if all of us see our family as a nation, then it becomes very easy for us to create a system that can produce a predictable outcome. You know, in strategy, which is one of the core things that we do here, we say there are 3 pillars of strategy. Pillar number 1 is the outcome, which means the outcome you want must be predetermined. So let's say as Africans, we say that we want to produce a wholesome and a developed continent. That's the outcome. The 2 other pillars are your internal capacity and your operating environment. Now, internal capacity is asking the question, do we have all it takes to produce this outcome? Now, it shows you the gaps. When you spot the gaps, let's say we don't communicate effectively. Let's say we don't have a clear vision of what we want. Let's say many of us are traumatized and we need healing. Internal capacity will show that. And if you don't address internal capacity, your outcome becomes a mere wish. And that's why almost all the efforts that is built to transform Africa has not translated to the result, because the internal capacity is weak. Internal capacity ensures that you change, ensures that you grow, ensures that you deal with your trauma, ensures that you become a wholesome person so that you can produce the outcome. The number 3 is the operating environment. An operating environment talks about the nuances and the reality of the African continent. To say that we are not Americans. And so, many of the policies and principles is not going to affect an African person if we don't adapt it. And I'll give you a typical example. Many of the psychometry systems that have been built are Western in nature. And so when people go to America or the UK to go study family science and they come back to Africa, they are administering their questionnaires. The questionnaires is not taking into cognizance the reality of the African family or the African marriage. For example, there is no questionnaire from the West that will ask you questions about who should cook between husband and wife, because they assume that anybody should be able to cook. There is no questionnaire that will ask the question about who is superior between a man and his wife, right? Because they assume that everybody practices gender equality. But those are things that are reality in Africa, and that's why one of the core things we are open to pass to the next generation are the values which include community. To say that Africans need to operate as various communities with clear vision, clear values that we can pass to the next generation. Number 2 value is humanity. And you see, the main thrust of what we do is Ubuntu, that says, I am because you are. I believe that every African needs to espouse this. There is no me without you. Whatever I do against you, I do against myself. That if we see every human being as man made in God's image, how the doctors will react to them will be different. How the teachers will react to them will be different. How the leaders will react to them will be totally different. In Africa today, one of the core things that is missing is value for human life. And if we espouse the value of humanity, we will know that whatever we do against these people, we're doing against ourselves. Number 3 is innovation, because we believe Africans have got a brain. I mean, we just finished the Family Life Conference in Benin, and it was about reclaiming our heritage. And we saw the greatness of the Benin Kingdom. All the things that happened even before the colonialists came in. Now, you couldn't tell me that the people that made those things happen, they were illiterate, or they were unlearned, or they were unlettered. No. The innovation that built the Benin moat, the innovation that built the bronze work that some of these people stole away and put in the artifacts they put in their museum, was ahead of its time. And so innovation is saying that African problem must be created by Africans using African solution, because a whole lot of the time we seem to prefer what is coming from the West, but it has not helped us, as you can all see. And so innovation is something we must espouse and believe in. That is why we always say that this concept of telling an African that your brain is too small for God to use, I think it is something that is not good for our growth and development, because your brain, the human mind, is what has created everything we use. So we need to normalize the use of the human mind. The challenge with that is that people will question leadership. And we should normalize being questioned, because if people don't question you, how can they innovate? If you maintain the status quo, there's no way you can innovate. So innovation is something we must pass to the next generation. Then we have leadership, which is basically influence. But you see, our own leadership is saying that it has to be servant leadership. That if you want to be the leader, you have to be the servant of all. The leader is not someone who presses remote control. It's not someone people run after. You know, we have a saying in Africa that an elephant cannot blow at the same time with his children. And I think that is one proverb that has defined our leadership, which we don't agree with. Because what we say is, what is it with elephant blowing? Why can't the elephant, father elephant blow treble, mother elephant blow alto, son elephant blow tenor, total even blow bass so that you can form a beautiful harmony. Why is it that your greatness must be dependent on my smallness? So what we're saying is that leadership must be about service, and leadership must be accountable to know that you work for the people and they are the boss, and they can literally fire you if you are underperforming. And lastly, we talk about love. And love talks about, your willingness to add value to someone else without expecting anything. That if Africa as a continent, if we espouse community, humanity, innovation, leadership, and love, we can create a developed society. Because you see, the way many of our nations operate, if you look at them, you can literally see the problem. We lack vision, we lack values, and we lack long-term planning. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the role of parenting. You see, the word parenting is the word bring forth, which means a parent is the one who can create a system that can discover, develop, and deploy a child. Now, many of us need to understand that a lot of us were traumatized as children, now we become adults, and we're traumatizing our children. And so we beat children for being children. And those are the things that we are teaching people to stop. For example, a 5-year-old spills water, and then you
Thank you. Praise Forward is a very well-known trainer. And we heard him say very critical things. Values, very important. Love, in families, translates to humanity, innovation, and then it gives us servant leadership. Thank you again, Praise Forward. As we move quickly to our next speaker on governance, another influential elite known as Professor Pat Utomi. Let's take his citation.
Prof. Patrick Utomi is a respected political economist, governance advocate, and founder of the Center for Values and Leadership. He has held various government and private sector roles, including Special Assistant to President Shehu Shagari and Executive Leadership at Volkswagen Nigeria. He also serves as Chairman of Business Day Media and creator of the civic discourse platform Patitos Gang, a former presidential candidate and long-time faculty member at Lagos Business School. Utomi is a renowned public intellectual with global influence. He frequently speaks on leadership, development, and Africa's economic future, and collaborates with institutions like Harvard, CSIS, and Chatham House.
Welcome, Prof. Patrick Utomi.
I'm pleased to join you, and you ask me who are elites. Well, elites are people who have privilege in society, have influence, and this can come either from education, usually does come from that. It can come from a place in the bureaucracy of systems, the talents they have, the aristocracy of talent is said to be what has pushed the modern age. It can come from social status or enterprise. So all of these people have a duty, because in society we say he who has privilege has obligations, noblesse oblige or noblesse obligeur. These are part of how we recognize elites in society. So what are the practical ways elites can overcome apathy in engaging in politics? Well, it's obvious that people don't want to get into situations of being tarnished and all of that, but you will recognize from experience that if you don't, you get hurt. So elite can participate in groups, elite groups, social organizations, and bring to those a commitment of that society to the common good, to ensuring justice and equity. Because as they say, look, when the elite are all doing so well and so many are poor, well, they will sleep with one eye closed because, hey, the poor, hungry people, they want to have them for dinner. Now you also ask me, how should citizens advocate for policies that support justice, fairness? I mean, I mentioned an example of a service organization like Rotary and their 4 or 5-way test, or whatever it is right now. And those are ways that we remind ourselves of our obligation to society. Like I say, noblesse oblige. He who has privilege has obligation. He has a duty to advance the common good of all. And so through that, we do these things. What actions can demonstrate responsibility for civic engagement for an elite? Well, besides organizations of the type that I mentioned that are social organizations, there are
Professor Pat Utomi was speaking there. I think there's a little glitch, but we heard what he had to say. Those who are privileged need to do more. We need to join into different groups of influence, he mentioned the concerned professionals. And of course, we have groups like Afenifere that started democracy movement in Nigeria. I hope we were able to gain some insights as we move on to another sphere of influence, the sphere of business, economy, and that to give us a message on that is no other than Pastor Itua Ighodalo.
Itua Ighodalo is a Nigerian pastor, entrepreneur, and chartered accountant. Is the senior pastor of Trinity House and founder of Ighodalo & Co., one of Nigeria's leading accounting firms. His ministry and business work reflect his commitment to values-based leadership and nation building. He is also the publisher of Timeless Media Group and founder of the Biduni Ighodalo Foundation, which supports families with fertility challenges. A fellow of multiple professional bodies and a board member across corporate and public sectors. Pastor Itua continues to inspire through his writings, teachings, and philanthropy.
Welcome, Pastor Itua Ighodalo.
My name is Pastor Itua Ighodalo, Senior Pastor, Trinity House, Lagos, also Deputy Chairman of SIO Professional Services. Elites are people in society who are privileged to have a bit more knowledge, a bit more understanding, a lot more exposure, and a lot more access to various things in a society. So in most societies, you have 3 or 4 groups of people. You have the top leaders, you have the elites who are a little bit below them, who also can easily aspire to the top. Then you have maybe the middle or the lower middle class, and then you have the working class. It's a question of exposure, capacity, resource, and influence. That's what makes you an elite. And by that word alone, it is simply saying that you should know a lot more and you should do much better than others. Every nation is transformed by entrepreneurship. There's no way you can grow anything without that spirit of entrepreneurship. It is an entrepreneur that conceives the idea, that drives the business, that conceives the business, that makes the business happen, that generates employment, that uses resources, that develops resources, and it is the combination of all that activity that leads to national transformation. So an entrepreneur is key. Government gives direction, government lays infrastructure. It is now the entrepreneur that builds and develops on it. The only problem with some of the business elites is that they don't quite understand their role. And they don't understand their role because they're driven largely by their own personal interests and self-centered needs, and not realizing how key they are, and that they should think a little bit beyond themselves. That while they're thinking of making money, making progress, they should also think about nation building and developing the nation. Okay, everything is not about profit and loss. Some businesses are founded because you want to create employment. Some businesses are founded because you want to build infrastructure. Some businesses are a social service so that one or two people who are not privileged can benefit, and so on and so forth. Every business should have a balance of all these things. And then, of course, there's the area of corporate social responsibility. These are activities you do in an environment to contribute and benefit that environment other than just making profit. But in a way, it should increase your bottom line, because when you benefit others, they'll be ready to make room for you to do what you need to do. It's just the same law of sowing and reaping. So the elites should come together and think broader, think larger, think beyond themselves, and think beyond their profits. And even in the management of those profits and the consumption thereof, they should think more on a developmental basis, not profits simply for consumption, although that also develops the economy, but profits for development and profits to enhance the value of society. When you have people thinking like that, you'll have an economy that will really thrive and boom. Well, how do they do it? A lot of them don't do it consciously, like I said before, but some do it subconsciously, because some of the businesses they do require the energy of youth to drive it. So whatever they do, they have to get the youth on board. You know, if you are running a soccer team, for example, you're not going to put a bunch of geriatrics on your soccer team. They have to be youthful people. If you are doing construction, again, you're not going to be looking for old people, although experience is good, but you need young people who can pull and push and drive. Even in information technology, a lot of the brains that they use these days are young brains that can think actively, think on their feet, and so on and so forth. So inadvertently, if you are driving a business, if you're an elite, if you are employing people, quite a majority of those people will be young people who will be the foot soldiers that will push the business forward. But again, it's important that we make a conscious effort to be youth inclusive so that they can have a place on the table. Time is money, and most of the time you don't want anybody to waste your time. But again, what you are all suggesting is very, very germane, very, very interesting. And that's part of thinking beyond yourself and creating a room and a space within your time that you allocate to people who need to access you for one reason or the other. One of my friends who is a minister has a day in the week from one time to a certain time when anybody can come without appointment to access him. And then he deals with them short. Here's what they want to say. And those that need another appointment, he gives it to them. I do that largely on Sunday afternoons in church. When I finish my service, my door is open. Anybody can come in, ask me any questions, deal with it as quickly as I can, and then make appointments for the other ones. You know, so that's very important. So we must consciously drive into the consciousness of our elite the fact that their role in society is to minister also to other people. That's what Jesus said. You know, he says, who wants to be a leader, who wants to be great, must be ready to minister to others. So you must create a time within your schedule where you can do this ministration and availability for people who need to reach you, people who need to hear from you, people you need to mentor, people who need your help. Yes, people who need your help, and people who need your direction. And you then find that you have a balanced life. You know, some people find that when they're able to give out of what they have, they live healthier and more productive lives. It's part of your own personal health to be available for others. I think it is quite obvious that most of the businesses are more about profits and prestige rather than the people. You know, very few businesses are people-centric, you know. So most of the time, you hear slave driving and so on and so forth. It's just about the bottom line and the profits and the personal enjoyment and interest of the business owner or the entrepreneur. Some of them, thankfully, think the other way, and they are ready to really grow people and really make sure that people are comfortable. And you find that those ones have a very high retention rate and a very high positivity among their folks, you know. Some people do some analysis, best places to work analysis for people. But most companies, most organizations, even churches, they prioritize programs, infrastructure, environment, big auditorium, and expenditure on the pastor, sometimes above catering for the ordinary folk. Well, my general advice for businesses is, number one, be very focused as to what you want to do. Number two, have a very big vision, have a clear vision of what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it. And then number three, be clear in your mind how it will benefit you, benefit your staff, and benefit society. There must be win-win-win for everybody. It's not all about you. It's about you, your staff, and society. So you must think about that and how to be a constant source of improvement and value add to every environment that you are in. If every business was adding some kind of value and not depleting the environment, you'll find that the nation or the country will naturally develop and become really, really transformed. I pray that all our business people will know that everybody's on earth only for a short while. You need to make your mark by being a blessing to others. I will bless you so that you can be a blessing, so that at the time your time is up, people can see the trail and the path that you left behind. God bless you.
Wow. Thank you, Pastor Itwa Ighodalo. We heard it. This is very challenging to business elites. Let's think on a broader capacity. Let's begin to be those who take charge of the golden rule: love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you, sir. We're moving quickly to the other spheres of influence, but before we do that, may I announce to the audience that it's time for you to start putting together your questions. I'm sure you have questions at this time. Please just text it on the chat and we will be sure to have them answered in the next segment. The next speaker is coming from the sphere of media, and it's no other than a very well celebrated woman in the TV scene. Her name is Mrs. Morayo Afolabi Brown.
Morayo Afolabi Brown is a leading Nigerian broadcaster and media executive. She is the managing director of TVC Entertainment and host of the long-running morning show Your View, which she created in 2013. The show has become a platform for national conversations and social change. With degrees in political science, media and marketing communications, and an MBA, Morayo has spent nearly 2 decades shaping the Nigerian media landscape. She is the author of Becoming the Queen of Talk TV and was named one of the top 25 most influential women in journalism by Women in Journalism Africa.
Welcome, Morayo.
I am Morayo Afolabi Brown, the Managing Director of TVC Entertainment and the host of the #1 all-female breakfast show on Nigerian TV called Your View. Who are the elites? The elites are a group of people in the socio-economic strata who are influential, maybe by their wealth, by education status, and they're a group of people who are expected to know better and have a bit of enlightenment. So that's how I'll describe the elite. Building truth with the media is essential, but sometimes you think that truth is dependent on who's telling it. You know, truth to me is different from what truth is to you, but the truth is truth, whether we like it or not. Media has a responsibility to the people to speak the truth, not personal views or thoughts, but to stick to the facts of the story. And that's my job as a media host, to ensure that we stick to the values. What are the values as a society that we want to project out there to people? The media has that responsibility to ensure that the truth, not the truth from my perspective or your perspective, but the actual factual truth is what is shared with the people, and let them make their own judgment, because we have a social responsibility to give them only the truth And the values are changing. When I talk about values, sometimes I wonder, because which values are we talking about? Today's values are different from the values I grew up with. So what is value to me is different from what is value to a Gen Z. So again, values are dependent on who is given the value. But the truth is that whatever so it makes a society, a sane society, is part of what adds to our value. So our job as media professionals is to have the responsibility to the public to ensure the values and the truth is conveyed at every opportunity we have to talk to Nigerians or the people in the media. You see, this word sensationalism has been bastardized. Sensationalism is actually a political tool. It's actually a recognized tool to use in media and even in politics. And sensationalism really is a way to catch people's attention, to do something, to amplify a position, or to cause an emotional connection to a story. Now, that can be used responsibly. So, for example, if I'm trying to get people to be aware of HIV/AIDS, I can use some sensational tactics to get their attraction or to get their attention. To be sensational. Oh, 5 million people just died from HIV around the world. Now, it might not be a complete picture. It could be actually that died in a certain group of people or certain circumstances. But those sensational news help you to grab the attention of the viewer, to learn about how HIV can be curbed in their society. So it can be used, but in recent times, it has been bastardized. In recent times, it has been used in a way such that we are sharing and conveying wrong information. We are conveying the inadequacy of our people and what we do that is so wrong, and we amplify it. And this sensationalism has to be changed, because it's a tool that can be used appropriately. So I think the media has a very high responsibility to redress and have some kind of way to ensure that professionals in the media industry use sensationalism in a positive light to help to reorientate, re-educate, and enlighten our readers and our viewers such that they can be better informed, not to lead them astray. As I said, it's a political tool because it helps you to build bias in certain instances. I mean, people use it to get leanings, get more votes with women, get more votes with religious people. So these are things that you can actually use. It's a part of tool of propaganda. But these are all tools that can be used in the right way. But it has been bastardized, and we as the media have a responsibility to use it appropriately and accordingly. So for me, my show, Your View, is the #1 all-female breakfast show on Nigerian television. We're going to be 12 years in May. And one of the responsibilities we take very dearly is the fact that we express our views. And even though we can be considered as elite, understanding that our job is to reorientate, meaning that our experience is to teach, is to share, is to inform. What that means for us, therefore, is that when we speak, we are not just speaking for ourselves, we're speaking on behalf of a whole community. So the hijabite is speaking for Muslims, the single woman is speaking for single women, the married one is speaking for the Christians, speaking for Christians. So we have a responsibility to a community. And as elites in that group, our job is to help to inform and reorientate their mind and thinking from how we are as a people and how we should be and we could be as a better people. So we take that very, very seriously on my show. And as a professional in my job, it's my own desire also to continue to create platforms where views are expressed and people understand their responsibility to help others have better information to live better lives. So the media can help to have that transformational influence on viewers by ensuring that we continue to go back to the ethics of journalism. You see, those ethics that were the rudiments of the profession has been somewhat watered down because everybody has a mobile phone. Everybody is a citizen journalist. Everybody has an opportunity to have a platform and put things out there. But there's a profession called journalism. There's a profession that helps in broadcasting. Those ethics must be very, very, must be sensitized to people generally to know that even though you have a platform, you have a responsibility of expression. So I think what the media can do is to bring out some of these ethics, make it more accessible to bloggers, to those who are using media. Let it become an everyday conversation where people know what is right and what is not, because people don't have a clue what the ethics of the profession is. So they just go out and say whatever they say because they get the clicks. But our job as professionals and as media practitioners is to ensure that the rudiments of our profession is widely shared, widely educated and taught, so that people can be educated about what the ethics of this profession is and then take better responsibility in what they do. This new world we live in right now is a world where media is crucial. But you must also educate yourself to get the right information. It's important. There's a lot of news out there, but you as a human being have a responsibility to filter this news, to only take what is true, what is valuable, and what is essential to your personal growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariah. We had beautiful insight into how media should be controlled. That word sensationality is a new one for me. But that sensationality must have ethics properly mentored. We need to put this in place. Media is a great tool and we can see what it's doing now. But we need to make sure that it brings together the right narrative in our nation. We will be taking on a very celebrated sphere of influence. We call it celebration, and some others know it as arts and entertainment. Today, let's hear from Ayotunde Ayoloye.
Ayotunde Ayoloye is the artistic director and CEO of the Free Gift International, a Christian arts ministry that uses theater and film for evangelism and societal transformation. Over the past 28 years, he has directed more than 1,000 live stage productions and written over 100 plays, many of which expose themes like corruption, nation building, and values education. A chartered accountant and former PwC executive, Ayoloye blends corporate strategy with creative storytelling to drive change. He also leads Creative Learning Concepts Limited and organizes major productions such as the iconic stage performances held at Muson Center in Lagos.
Welcome, Mr. Ayoloye.
Hello everybody, my name is Ayotunde Ayoloye. I am the creative director at an organization known as Free Gift International Film and Theatre Ministry. One of the things we do at Free Gift International Film and Theatre Ministry is we use the instruments of theatre and film primarily to preach the gospel, but also to teach and disciple people. So if I was to define an elite, I would define an elite as any individual who has superior abilities or quality over other people in his community or in his space, whatever that superior ability or quality is. So you can either be a financial elite, a mental elite, a spiritual elite, a social elite, an emotional elite, a technical elite, physical elite. Anywhere where you have a superior advantage or qualities over other people around you, you qualify as an elite. And that puts you in a unique position to be able to use your elite status to drive transformation and to drive change. My exposure has been in accounting. By training, I'm an accountant. I'm a professional accountant, a chartered accountant. I was in professional practice for almost 17 years. But over that time, I developed a passion for the theater, for film. And in that period, I developed competencies in that area such that today you might actually look and say, in the area of theater and film, I am an elite. How can one use that position as an elite, particularly in the entertainment sector, or in the area of theater, film, music, or whatever genre or area of entertainment you are in? I think it's instructive to note that a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. Having been involved in ministry for a while, I find that you can get an individual who will stand before a room, speak for 30, 45 minutes on a given topic. And if you ask them, the people in that room, 2 or 3 months from that time, what exactly did that individual say? Sometimes they might be able to remember 10, 15% of what they said. But in that same room, if I do a 2-minute or 3-minute skit, I find that 10 years, 15 years down the line, people can still remember. So it is clear that entertainment has the capacity to make a significant impact in the lives of people. We may argue, or some people may argue and say yes, but if we look at our society today, we see that entertainment may even be pushing us in what we consider the wrong direction. Entertainment may be teaching people vices or things that, society may not necessarily always be happy with. But the truth of the matter is that entertainment essentially is just a tool. Theater, film, music, they are tools. The question is, what do you do with your tool? And as an elite, it's important for us, I believe, to be able to master the use of that tool, master your craft, and then use that tool to be able to drive the change or the transformation that you are looking for. And I think that one area where we can actually make significant impact is particularly amongst the young people, among the youths. I understand today that if you look at the population of Nigeria, 70% of the population is estimated to be below the age of 30. That means a significant portion of the population of this country are young people. Now, there are certain advantages you get when you work with young people. One, young people are impressionable. Young people are looking for role models. Young people have the future ahead of them and are trying to make decisions as to which way they need to go at any point in time. In these days of social media and in these days where a lot of things are being digitalized and social media and the internet is very active, you find that a lot of the time people are looking for who they can follow. Now, where you have credibility and where you have authenticity, you can develop a following. If you know how to use the craft of entertainment, of film, of theater, it can give you a voice. So the question now is, with your voice, with your authenticity, and with your credibility, what are you going to tell the people? And I believe that as an elite in the field of entertainment or media, in the field of theater and film, there are a number of things you can do. You can use your craft to instill values in the people, to teach values. You can use your craft to establish principles, define what is sometimes referred to as the ancient landmarks. What do I mean by that? Things are changing today, but a lot of the time the principles on which those changes happen, they remain the same. Now, if we're able to use our craft, our tool as entertainment or media people to be able to teach people, expose people to what the principles that actually can make people great to be, it will be a step in the right direction. I believe that you can use these crafts to change mindsets. We can use this craft to be able to get people to begin to think outside the box. More importantly, we can use the craft to be able to show people what is possible so that young people can look and say, I can be whatever I want to be. I can aspire to do certain things. And because you are able to see it, it becomes a lot more real to the young people than if we just theorize or talk about it. The same way you can preach a gospel message, the same way you can teach a leadership principle, the same way you can teach people in terms of how to manage their teams, how to resolve conflicts, how to plan, how to effect strategy, how to account. It doesn't matter the area of field in which you are operating. It is possible for you to take the arts, to be able to take media, to be able to take stage plays, to be able to take films and drive at the message you want to drive with impact. So how can we take this forward as a people? I think one of the most important things for us to do is that in whatever area of influence we are, we should be able to look and say what exactly our objectives. So I think media people or people who are in the media or the entertainment space need to be able to come forward and say, this is what we are trying to do in government. This is what we are trying to do in the church. This is what we are trying to do in whatever aspect or area we are looking at. And then ask yourself and say, okay, if this is what we want to do, how can we use our tool to drive that agenda? So I think that is a very strong tool, but you have to work with people in different areas. So for instance, if I want to change the mindset of a nation, if I want to change national orientation, I can actually decide and say we need to do messages, we need to do stories that talk about the kind of orientation we need to have as a people, and to show people that if we have this kind of orientation, this is the kind of nation that is possible. And you package it in a believable story, in a believable framework that people can look and say, I can see it now. This thing is possible. This is our time, I believe, to be able to drive the change that we are looking for, particularly in Nigeria as a nation. And I'm trusting that we will see that happening amongst many of you out there in the weeks, the months, and the years to come. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Yoloye. And thank you to all the other speakers that have spoken. There is just this last sphere of influence, one that can create love in our nation, one that can disciple and teach, one that can do everything to make Nigeria great again. So we go to the last speaker, who is a very profound and well-known elite in the sphere of both religion and also business. His name is none other than Professor Akin.
Prof. Akin Akinpelu is a renowned strategist, leadership coach, and founder of Akin Akinpelu Learning and Development. As the CEO of Erodio Hub, is committed to transforming education in Africa by equipping next-generation leaders and educators. With a PhD in educational leadership and multiple professional fellowships, Akin has trained over 700,000 individuals and worked with organizations like KPMG, Stanbic IBTC, and Lagos State Government. He is a professor of practice, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, and an advisor to governments and institutions across Africa.
Welcome, Professor Akin Akinpelu. Welcome, Professor Akin Akinpelu.
Hi, my name is Akin Akinpelu. I'm super excited to be with the phenomenal Institute for National Transformation. I would first say it's a distinct honor for me to address you at this year's summit, and I want to commend the leadership of INT for the phenomenal work and the great work that you are doing, and for bringing everybody together to be able to speak on critical conversations, important conversations in the times that we are in. And it's such a beautiful topic where we have to bring the merging of the elites, the influence, and how the shaping of culture and nations can come together. Deep respect and honor to the CEO and the Director General of the INT, Professor Vincent Anibogo, and the entire team for a great job that you are doing. your dedication to national transformation and leadership development is quite and truly commendable. So I'm going to be speaking to you because I'm a man that I wear so many caps, so, and when I saw the topic, it resonates very strongly with me because from the place of religion, I operate as a pastor, and as a priest there. Then also in the academic sector, I'm a leader in the academic sector, I'm a professor, and in the business sector, I help organizations from the platform of management consulting. So I feel like a stakeholder in this collective conversation, one that believes strongly from a cosmopolitan point of view that religious leadership, when rightly positioned as both the spiritual authority and strategic responsibility, it would always shape the soul of a nation. I believe strongly in the religion that can bring about social transformation and can bring about national transformation altogether. I believe that at such crossroads that we are in, leaders in this sector, particularly the religious sector, we need to arise, not just to be preachers on the pew, but we ought to be guardians of doctrine. We ought to be custodians of national healing, builders of value-based culture, binders of the unity of the faith, and stewards of possibility. And permit me to first speak to you about the word elite. Who are elite? In my own context, and also from the dictionary point of view, elites are not just people with material wealth or academic accolades, as the case may be. Elites are individuals whose decisions carry weight. They are powerful people. Their voices can shape culture, shape destiny. It can shape nations. They have powerful platforms, and you see that with that platform, they can always elevate things across, the continent, the country, as the case may be. And this also includes the religious space. And why did I say the religious space? Very simple. It's not just about a title. I'm talking about the religious platform where lives are being directed on daily basis. There's no such thing that touch the heart like the polite. The policies, just like the religious sector, they touch the heart directly and they give direction to a lot of people. So the question is not whether we're elite, it's what kind of elite we are becoming. So permit me to talk about the strategic power of the mountain of religion. And in the Nigerian context, it's not peripheral, it is central, with over 90% of people professing publicly religious identity. It tells you something, that the pulpit is powerful. It tells you that the pulpit is so great that the most influential platforms in the national life of a country can be found profoundly even from the pulpit. So whether in the churches and the mosque or the spiritual centers, you will find that religious leaders, they have access to something policies or the poli or politicians cannot have so much access to, and that one valuable resource is called the heart. The mountain of religion, therefore, is not just shaped, it's not just to shape empires, but you're talking about how they are igniting movement, how they're transforming culture even throughout history. Permit me to talk about a few people that were phenomenal from the Bible. A good example is Joseph in Pharaoh's court. Look at what Joseph did even in that political regime. Is it to talk about Daniel in Babylon, how outstanding he was in that particular government? Should I talk about Esther in Persia? And you find out that each of these people, they had spiritual depth, but they moved from just spiritual depth into what is called civic influence. There must be critical conversion from the things that we have been used to the things that we need to begin to do. And that's why you begin to ask yourself questions. Is our faith truly solving problems? Is it truly reforming a nation? Or our faith is just raising demagogues and keeping people to live in a particular way and continue with their lives? Are our gatherings, is it encouraging, inspiring? Is it raising visionary people? Is it incubating ethical leaders across the sectors? So it means that we are not just preparing people for eternity, but we also have substance to say that we are equipping them to transform the systems that we live in now. Because right now, we are in the times where we need to transform the systems, and eternity is also in view. So while eternity is in view, what are we doing to occupy for God? So we must not retreat from culture. The religious space, Christianity, is not anti-culture. We cannot retreat from culture. We must redeem culture. The church must not be just a sanctuary. Can we move from just being a sanctuary to affecting society? Can we just move from preaching to the place of being a training ground for change? Can we just move from the place of raising people who are workers, but also trying to deploy people into greater sphere of influence so that they can become the best that God wants them to be? We must be able to evolve from just places of moral talks and moral transformation. Can we become great leadership ecosystem? Can we become a great leadership incubation house? We are not just called to preach eternal life, we are also called to demonstrate abundant life. And how do you demonstrate this abundance of life? You demonstrate it in values, in stewardship, in institutional structures, and in nation building strategies. Can I say that again? You are not just teaching about eternity as a Christian, you are also living the abundant life and demonstrating it. And the ways to demonstrate it can be seen in the place of culture, value, stewardship, institutional structures, and strategies that are building a nation. And that's why this is a call for us to begin to shape the society through our spiritual and our moral leadership. We have seen it time and time again. Moral revolution would always start from a very solid spiritual awakening. There is first a spiritual awakening before there is a moral revolution. Can I say this? A moral revolution without a strong spiritual depth is not going to stand the test of time. And we've seen that many times, and seasons have passed. We have seen how those moral revolutions have not been able to stand. But if it came from a very powerful energy, which is from a spiritual place, maybe there was a spiritual awakening in the city, you will see that, wow, that brought about some level of transformation in a moral revolution for people. And that's why we can talk about the times of the Azusa revival and the times where we had solid spiritual awakening on the earth. We saw the effect even with animals. We saw moral transformation taking place. Should I take you back to the 18th century, in the days, the 18th century down to the 20th century, where we moved from abolishment to the times where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he moved for justice. There were ignitions, and these things were not done in the government houses. They were not done in the government halls. This particularly took place in the place of worship. It tells you that the place of worship is not just a place where people gather. It is a place where you have ambassadors of the kingdom, people who have been called into different spheres and influence of the world or sectors of the world to transform it. And that's the gathering. And that's why I say here in Nigeria, the voice of religious leaders still carries tremendous moral authority, no matter what you think about it, no matter the biases, no matter the bad examples you may have seen. But I'm telling you that we are still a very powerful voice. But that voice must go beyond inspiration. Our voice must become what I call the 3I. It must become instructional, our voices must become institutional, and our voices must become intentional. Instructional to say that we can correct things. Institutional means that we are building systems and structures to be able to cascade these things from generation to generation. And number 3, we are very intentional about it, to say that what we are doing, we are not doing it out of just doing its sake. We are doing it because we have a critical outcome in the future that we must be able to get. I'm looking forward to the time where the church would be called for the solution of this dying world.
Brilliant. Brilliant. This is a message every elite has to hear, especially in the religious sphere. You know, it's not just churches. We preach also with there's also the Muslims in the mosques, and even those practicing their traditional religion. Whatever it is we are practicing, the most important thing is, are we taking our spiritual depth to make a civic conversion? Is it important enough to us that there must be a moral revolution, which without any deep spiritual reawakening, we cannot move forward. Imagine if we did not have the likes of Martin Luther King, who was able to do and change segregation in America. And remember that religion that is not practiced to bring glory to God is a religion that is bastardized. We've just listened to 7 great, influential, elite men and women who gave deep insights into the role of elites in national transformation, or we could also call it national development. The question I want to raise at this junction is, what are you doing? What are you doing with your influence? Influence can be anything. You heard them describe who an elite is. We're moving on in time, and that is why this next segment is very important. Questions have been taken off the charts, and we will be going into this session called the interactive session with our leaders in the alumni community. We have great leaders. You heard these other leaders, but we also have great leaders in our institute. Let us welcome a panel of 7 very influential. Bumi Igbenijesi is one of our leaders in INT. Bumi Igbenijesi is a pastor, counselor, social entrepreneur, and the chief responsibility officer of the King's Daughters Ministry, a ministry that she has founded. Charles Abraham is another one, a pastor who is in the business, marketing, an expert in what he does, and an author of many, many years. He launched different brands in his sector, marketing, and is the national change here. We also have engineer Dr. Dogara here. He is recently the Jagaban of the Jaba of Ham and Jaba traditional life. We acknowledge great leadership and community development. A retired NNPC executive and a renowned businessman. Dr. Calvin Atonza is another very great leader within our alumni, and he is distinguished as a preacher, a teacher, and a leader. He serves as a president of Natural Law Ministry, which is in Yola. And then we have our Dr. Segun Adaju, who is the president and represents his energy company called Uriai, and also consultant to different other organizations involved in renewable energy. He's also our chairman. We have Mrs. Shola Aguda, who is a family and holistic life coach, counselor, author, leadership consultant, and the CEO of the Aguda Institute for Family and National Transformation. She's part of the team here, and we want to welcome each and every one of them to this platform where we go into answering key questions about national transformation as it relates to the role of elites. To take the floor, I hope we have all our wonderful leaders online. I welcome you again. Each and every one of you, you're welcome. Thank you for being part of this great work at the Institute. The questions I will take, and then we will address it to different persons who will take the answers. I'm going to look on the chat now. I want to check the answers, the questions. The first question, just give me a moment, please, just to look through the questions. The questions, I'm just going to say, I'm going to speak about the questions, and then we'll see who would, I will address each of those questions to one of the panelists. What is the role of the media in the era of artificial intelligence? Of course, that goes to Pastor Charles Abraham. What is the role of the media in the era of artificial intelligence? Well, let me just pick two more questions so that the others will also get ready. How, and the same question that goes to Pastor Charles is, how can the media define the use of AI in either presenting or misrepresenting facts? So that's two questions to you, sir. And then we have these other questions on how do we harmonize all these ideas? We've said a lot today. How do we harmonize all these ideas and translate them into reality in our nation, Nigeria? How do we reorientate our elite on national transformation? That's what we're doing here in INT. By the way, any platform, and not this is the third question talking about national development. Any platform to transform upkeeping elites or youth for national development. That would go, those questions will go to our dear chair of the alumni, president and chair of the alumni, Dr. Segun Adaju. And then we can start, I will start with Pastor Abraham on those three questions, and then I'll take more questions after both men address them. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Lady T. And I want to congratulate us as INT for this, I would say, very epochal conference we're just holding. I think this is really, really a great conference. I've really enjoyed every speaker, and I think it's been most insightful. Let me dive straight to the question. How can we use AI, or how can AI be regulated, or how can media become more responsible in the age of AI? I mean, it's basically the same question. And what I want to say is that the role of media as gatekeepers cannot be overemphasized. Our speaker, Mrs. Afolabi Brown, actually touched on it. The media is a gatekeeper. They are the gatekeeping organization or institute. They are also they can also be used to sift. But the problem with AI is that a lot of people are still mystified by it. There's a lot of mystic around AI. A lot of people are confused about it. But media can really help in demystifying AI. AI also is a double-edged tool. Whilst it can be used to propagate the wrong things, it can also be used to check the wrong things. Because with AI, you can verify sources, you can verify a lot of things very, very quickly. And you can authenticate whether the news is correct or incorrect. AI also enables you to bring your communication to life very quickly. And so if you have the truth, like she said, and you are propagating the truth, then you can bring it to life very quickly. So for me, I would say there are just maybe three areas that we really need to watch out for. Number one is in the gatekeeping area. Number two is in the education area, how media needs to educate. Media is actually a tool for education. And then the third one is how media should be able to help to discern and to sift what is correct information or true information and what is wrong or what is erroneous information. But it all comes from policy. There has to be policies driving media practice, driving communication practice. And that's why some of the institutions that we belong to, for instance, at INT, if you come to our work scene, you definitely will have a course on media. But beyond that, there is also the Advertising Professional Council of Nigeria that is a regulator. And then there is the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. There are many organizations that actually regulate the source information as they go out. And what we need is to have the right policies in place to be able to guide this. AI is an evolving and fast evolving concept. It's affecting many global situations. It's not just about media. It's almost every aspect of life is being affected by AI. And we need to have a national thought, or I don't know whether I'll call it a brain box in Nigeria that actually looks at how to interrogate AI and use AI positively and curb its excesses. Every nation that is responsible is actually doing that. So I think it's what it is. It's a reality that we all have to live with. And I would say get into AI as quickly as possible. Do not become a stranger to it, and don't let it leave you behind. Because we can all learn how to use AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Adaju, did you get those questions? I'd love you to quickly address them. We must remind ourselves that we have time. Don't have too much time on our hands. But I know we have very astute cerebral leaders. So please, we'll hear your voice on those questions.
Thank you so much, moderator, and good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, really. Questions, and I'll just quickly take them in one. One of the questions is, how do we harmonize all these ideas and translate them into reality? How do we orientate our elites on national transformation and also any platform? I will straight away tell you that the Institute for National Transformation is that platform. I'll share my experience. I was in banking up to year 2008, and I just thought it's all about making big money, living in big houses, riding big cars, and traveling all over the world. And then I attended that first training of Oxid 001, and of course my life changed from there. And I started seeing life in terms of I'm an entrepreneur. My sphere is business and economy, and so I understood that look, the essence of my being in business is not really just to make big money and live a good life while the nation is depleting and is being deteriorated. So that orientation shifted, and of course I went into microfinance. I was one of the first licensees of microfinance banking in Nigeria, and the idea was that look, how can we bring people into? Initially it was about profit, but now it became profit and people. How can you be rich and super rich in a nation where, the nation that has the highest number of poor people in the whole world? I hope we are aware. By number, Nigeria has the highest number of poor people in the world. Completely not accepted. So how can we as business and entrepreneurs shape this? So how do we harmonize all these ideas? Number one, I had my own calling. Let me use that word, in quotes. When I attended events and I realized that, look, you're called to this business world, but not principally to make profit and money. It is about to shape the environment. And then I started ruminating, reading a lot, of course, scriptural context, telling you about the purpose. Why are you on earth? What is the why? Why are you in banking? Why are you in business? Is it basically to make money, or basically just to help to shape a nation? And then reasoning.
Sir, we can't hear you anymore. I'm
reading about the Nehemiahs, the Josephs. Just name. You need to try to shape your business, your focus, your purpose to align with the reason why God has sent you here on earth. So for me, this is how we need to begin to, harmonize all the efforts. And I listen to all our speakers, great speakers. I want to take a particular example of how the church also, I think it was Professor Akinpelumi that said about that we need to start teaching, our congregation beyond how to pray, how to fast. We need to teach them how to build nations in their sphere of influence. If I'm a businessman, I believe I'm running a kingdom business, a business that is, designed along with scriptures, the word of God, and to shape my society. Of course, there's going to be profits, but the profits should not be basically for me to buy. Ultimately, the only objective is to buy a private jet and just be flying all over the whole world. But it's to also create a pool of money that will also help to, repair the breach. The Bible says we are repairers of the breach. All right. So for me, I also want to welcome you to the Institute for National Transformation, where we have great change agents who are willing and are ready to shape their world. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, sir. Quickly, and the question, how do we create balance on passing right values to our children in the educational sector, and the children still maintain such values irrespective of a failing parenting system or a failed family background? This is a very potent question. And I'm going to have my sister, Pastor Bumi Igbenejesu, answer that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mama T, and thank you, Prof, for having me on this platform today. I want to thank all the speakers. It's been very enlightening. Yeah, go straight to the question. The question here is, who trained the children? I mean, because who trained the children? Values. Children don't train themselves. Somebody trained them, showed them this value or taught them these values. And if they were taught the wrong values, then it means that the teachers need to be re-educated on the right values. So we need to go back to parents, back to training parents on how to inculcate the right values into their children and teach the parents the right values and how to communicate it to their children. And therefore, from there, we have children who grow up with the right values, and then they can progress with it, because children don't train themselves. So parents need to be educated. So we need to have educational, our churches, our schools, we need to come, I mean, we hear of trainings of all kinds, but we don't hear of parenting. I mean, how many times have you heard of parenting school? So we need to have parenting schools where parents are trained on the right values, and they can communicate these values to their children. That way, we will have children, have the right values, live by the right values, grow by the right values, and be able to pass on the right values to the next generation.
Thank you, ma. Thank you. We've heard her, and it says, parenting is key. Welcome, Dr. Calvin. Dr. Calvin, can you unmute, sir? I have a question for you you're going to take now. And the question that it goes to you, could you please share your plan for engaging and collaborating with diaspora Africans eager to contribute their industry, experience, and expertise towards Africa's transformation, particularly in the area of values-based leadership? Welcome, sir. Unmute, sir. You are not unmute. Can you unmute, sir?
I think he's trying to unmute, but maybe they need to unmute him from the administrator.
Unmute him.
All right.
Okay, can you unmute him? All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
So sorry for that, sir.
It's all right. And kudos to all the speakers who have really given us the platform to engage and make sure that we transform the nations. Thank you for the opportunity. Now, it's very important for us to realize that value systems are built over time, and they must be deliberate. Those people in the diaspora who go out of the nation of Nigeria and see things work, and see them work based on certain values, have the opportunity or should make a deliberate effort to try to bring back these values into Nigeria or into the nation that they live in or we live in. You will notice that many times when Nigerians travel out of the country, they join the queue, they do all the things that are done. But as soon as we land in Lagos or Abuja, we get into chaos. It's partly because in our mind, we know and feel that there is no consequence for our action. So these people in the diaspora need to learn how to engage the mind that they are still out of the country, even though in another country, and impose these values that they've learned in the nation. For instance, if they come back, they still stop at the traffic light, still join the queue, and try to expose these same values to the people that they are together with. I believe that it can work very well if they are conscious of the fact that they are not just there to make money, they are there as ambassadors, and must be willing to transfer these values to our own nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I have another speaker by the name of Shola Oguchi Aguda. Welcome, Ma. I would love you to take a question on the insecurity of our nation. Is the problem of insecurity from the sphere of influence, from the sphere of family or leadership? How do we tackle it?
Okay, thank you, Lady T, and good afternoon to everyone who has joined, and also this amazing panelists. I think it's two-pronged. You know, the insecurity is both on both levels. Definitely, the responsibility of a government is to ensure that its citizens are secure. And so whether it's providing the rule of law, we know that one of the reasons why Nigeria is failing is the absence of the rule of law. And so if there are no consequences for actions, there's going to be anarchy, which is why we're where we are today. People do whatever they want to do, how they want to do it, the way they want to do it, and there are no consequences. When there's a country like that, then it means that there is no security. So on one level is government pronged. On the second level is family pronged, right? Because who is raising the people that are badly behaved? Like Mrs. Igbinoni used to say, it said, children don't raise themselves. And so a child is a function of his or her background, is a function of the family in which they came from. And so if we're not doing taking our responsibility seriously as parents to raise value-driven children, then we're going to actually raise no value-driven adults, right, who cause insecurity. So I would say that we do the part we can. It's not everybody's in government, right? So if we're not in government, a lot of people are parents. Let's raise value-driven adults, right? Let's raise value-driven individuals in our home. That way, we're contributing our quota to reducing the security system. But on the average, the government has that responsibility to ensure that the environment is secure. And just quickly to jump on a question that Mrs. Igbinoni had answered really well, which is, what do you do when you are teaching values in the educational system and there are no values being taught at home? You know, the truth is that children, the home is a foundation of the family unit, is a foundation of any nation. And so if values are not being taught at home, there's a high possibility that child is going to grow up without values. But I'm sure all of us have experienced these amazing teachers in your lifetime who did not give up on you, who stayed on the course, who said, you know what, you are going to be great. I'm going to get you great. Everybody at home didn't believe in you. Nobody thought you were anything. But there's that one teacher or that person that pushed you to the limit. So I would like to say to those in the educational system, don't give up. Those students, and when your children are younger, they believe the teachers more than their parents. They'll say, my teacher said. And so there's that part where the teacher has such a pivotal role in the molding of the child. So while we're trying to train the parents, trying to get them to a place where they're passing down values, I would say that in the educational system, do your work as if you're actually training your own children, and we will actually reap the harvest in the end. Thank you, Lady.
And well done, thank you, Ma. Another question would go to, this is a question that deals with the northern region. I don't have any, sorry. What is the role of the elites in addressing the crisis of out of school children in Nigeria? And we know that this happens in certain areas of Nigeria. I would say really the north, boldly say in the north. How do we address this situation? Can I have Madam Shola Oguchi Aguda go on this question on education again?
Okay. So the truth is that I wanted to say, oh my gosh, this is the responsibility of the government, but we also know that that's not going to take us far, really. And so really, everybody here has said something very significant, which is that our businesses are not just about making money, right? Our lives are not just about making money. I think it's really time for the elites to grow up, meaning that where are those businesses that are saying, you know what, we want to take up this role of education and get children off the streets? Where are the people that are going to say that, look, the next car is not to just buy the latest car, the less money I made, it's not to buy the latest car or the latest apartment. It is actually to take up an initiative to ensure that we reduce the children of the streets. I think that if the elites focus on building institutions, we've heard that a lot. I think a lot of people are doing, I'll sponsor 10 children, I'll sponsor 5 children. It's not going to get us far. we have to work in a geometric progression, which means that we have to begin to set up those institutions. And people are already doing that. Things like Slum to School, Teach for Africa, there are institutions that are saying we want to get children off the streets. I think it's time for that collaboration Mrs. Alera spoke about, where people in that space who are thinking the same way, how do we get children off the streets, come together and say, can we collaborate? Can we come up with 5, 6 institutions that are going to get these children off the streets? Can we, if we say it's in the north, can we go to the north and begin to raise and build schools? Can we begin to teach teachers and deploy them there and actually make sure that those teachers are not suffering? Because, education is really one of those areas that nobody wants to have anything to do with. But in Finland, education is it's a notable institution because the teachers are treated as well as the doctors, and we should get there. So while we're waiting for the government to get to where they're getting, I would say that any elite that is passionate about education, it's time to begin to find other people like you and say, how can we collaborate? And that is one reason we're pushing the Institute of National Transformation, because you would see different elites in different spheres of influence. And as we collaborate, we can produce that dynamo effect that can take this off the street. So it's time to stop thinking me, myself, and I want to send 5 children to school, 10 children to school, 15 children. How about sending 10,000 children to school? These are the things. I think collaboration is the key if we want to do that.
Thank you so much. Very well. The panel of speakers really deserve an applause from the audience. They've answered these questions without any doubt, iota of doubt. And if you have more questions, you are free to send these questions in. We will be taking them through our later on when we send to you emails for your participation. Right now, we just want you to hang in there with a last question that I think should be answered. So just give us a bit of time. We're running about 10 minutes slow at the summit, but I think everything you've heard so far has been very impressionable. The question is to clarify. There's a question here on the if a citizen takes the initiative to help others migrate abroad legally for work, education, or better opportunities, how do you think the government and society should start to view this? I think this addresses the Japa syndrome. Is it the Japa syndrome?
Japa. Yeah.
Yes, Japa. So this is draining us of our youth, our resources. So I think we need to answer this question, and I would want can I have Pastor Olubunmi Benijesu answer this, please?
Ma, can you repeat the question?
If the citizens, what should the government do with those, that is immigration lawyers, who are advocating our youths to go out of Nigeria legally? Because that's why I said immigration lawyers. What would you advise the government to do to stop this Japa syndrome? Or would you, if you're not comfortable taking it?
Sure, it's okay. It's okay. I think what the government should do, first of all, it's not wrong to Japa if you have to. It's not wrong because environment is key in success in life. And if the environment you are in is not helping you to accomplish or to harness every potential within you, you need to look for the environment that will help you do that. So if they need to Japa legally, that's fine. But when you Japa and you come, what's your aim? Are you going there to just be part of the society, or are you going there to learn something and become an agent of change in your own society? So what I would advise the government to do is to encourage everyone, or to place, a kind of, I don't know how to put it, because there's a way you put it, you make the government become a tyrant on people. What I'm saying is, if we go out of the country, go learn something, bring it back, and implement it in your own society. Let the government demand that from people who go out. I'm careful with that demand. What demand? Because again, the government also, you need to look at the government you're talking about, because it could become a case that people are harassed and put in. But people should come back from outside of the country and inculcate the learnings, the things that they know, the things that they have learned in their own country. We don't see that happen. We see elites go out of the country, they learn so much, and when they come back, they just come and mix with the crowd. And it's like they never learned anything. We should come back and bring all the ideas. I mean, I just ask myself, are leaders going out? If you go out and you come back, what did you learn? What did you learn? How are you putting that in your own society to benefit the people that you're around?
Said, could we quickly take another person's opinion? Our president.
Yes, I would like to jump here. I'm very brief. Yes, I mean, it's not out of place to migrate. It is universal. Capital, human resources, and the rest move towards area of returns. So money and capital is the same. Even in the Bible, there was a talk I gave at the time, and three critical points that came. Number one, there is the Japa. I mean, Abraham was asked to move to another country, right? There is the ones that are Duro. I mean, I think it was Isaac that God said, hey, don't move, stay where you are now. It's called the Duro syndrome. And then there's the one that's called the Jakpada, the ones that go to diaspora and come back. The roots, the Nehemiahs. I mean, and they bring resources. You can imagine the resources that Nehemiah brought, while he was also trying to build the wall. All right. And I look at the statistics. In year 2023, the remittances from diasporans is $19.7 billion US. It's one of the highest, we call it FDI, foreign direct inflow or investment into Nigeria. One of the highest. In fact, it's higher than the national budget of that year. So it's also, as Nigerians are moving out, Indians and they are moving in. So, location is universal. But the government needs also to understand this, mine it properly, because there is additional capital that is brought when they go out and come back. The environment must be conducive for them to return and explore all the lessons, all the experiences that they have garnered from those foreign countries. So I don't think, in fact, the government has an agency on diaspora headed by Bike Dabiri. So I'm sure they also understood this.
Thank you very much. So, because of time, there's one more question. I just keep on seeing these questions, and it's very important. Dr. Dogara, is he on? He's just left. There was a question I wanted him to answer.
He's been trying to get back. I think he has an internet issue. He's been trying to get back.
All right. Should I go ahead with the question, because I think it's really he will be the best person to take that question. It's to do with the northern agenda in terms of how influential people in the north should begin to encourage and push all types of.
Dr. Calvin too. Dr. Calvin too can take it. He's from the north.
Dr. Calvin. All right. Is Dr. Calvin on? He's not on yet. He's not yet.
He's on. He's been. Yes, so we can just spotlight him again.
Let me just quickly read this question to you. Nigeria's values find idols in our national anthem. Can we notice that they are being increasingly suppressed by radicalization of a significant part of the country, especially the north, by rising jihadism and terrorism encouraged by Sharia mentality and values, which actually clash with Nigeria's values? Examine the public messages of Islamic clerics, etc. Influential people in the north encourage and push these incompatibilities morally and materially. Is this not widening the drift from our values, and how can this drift be controlled in the face of this elite dislodgement of our national values? Over to you, sir. Can you unmute him, please? He's muted.
All right, praise the Lord. A very important question, and very cogent question, because it's a present danger in Nigeria, the proliferation of the Almajiris and the out-of-school children and so many other things are all intertwined. And to cut the long story short, the greatest danger to solving this problem are the elites. And the elites are very well positioned, to determine whether it works or not. Because in the northern region, there is a hierarchical system. Once the elder who is most influential says something, everybody falls in line. So you'll find out that, especially like during the Boko Haram time, most of the emirs were not saying anything. And because they weren't saying anything, nobody was doing anything until they began to speak against it. And that's where now everybody is beginning to fall in line. So there must be a system whereby the people who are well respected, the elites in the north, are brought to on the same page with the Nigerian agenda. They must be brought to the place where they see Nigeria not just as one sectional thing or an Islamic world, but a country where everybody has rights. And it is from there that they can begin to tone down and work on the cultural part of it, where everybody feels that you. Whatever, you'll find out that most of the Almajiris are people who don't even know where their parents are, don't know who their parents are, because it's part of the culture and they use religion to propagate that. So it's a very serious issue, but it must start from the top. If you'll be surprised to find out if the Sultan of Sokoto or the Emir of Kano or one of these emirs make a speech against it, and he rallies around those people who are really at the top, it will cascade down and it will be a problem that is solved.
Thank you so much, sir. Oh, I'm so impressed by all the contributions you've made. And I'm very sure that the audience have gained insights. For any more questions, please address it to our contact, summit@intinternational.org. And coming up next is a very influential elite in our organization. She's not just an influential elite in religion, in business, in education. She holds a very high esteem in other organizations. I am so happy to welcome the one and only Reverend Juliet Ovie Benite. Welcome, ma.
Thank you so much, Mama Lady T, like we call her. Excellent moderation. Thank you so much. Once again, it's our privilege and honor to recognize our distinguished DG, the DG International, Professor Vincent Anibogu, and our Mama Peggy, the International Global Administrator of INT, and of course, the CED of Nigeria, the chairman of this occasion, and all the moderation that has been done today by her, and also our leaders, panelists, our distinguished leaders, the president of the alumni, chairman of Nigeria, and everyone inclusive. Thank you, faculty members that are here, alumni that are still here, and our guests that are here, and for those who are going to hear. It is time for action. We thank God for all the speakers. They have done brilliantly well in diagnosing, as it were, what is happening within our nation, and also of some preferring some solutions, as it were. A call to action to the elite class, it has to be clear that an elite class or an individual who's an elite is somebody who has influence, not necessarily all the money in the world, but also influence. You have education, you have social status, and you have some sort of authority. You are an elite. And if you do the elitist test, which may be dropped on the box for those who are visitors. It's important that you do the test to have the clear mind that you're truly an elite. So whether it's political elite, economic elite, a cultural elite, there is a challenge that has your name on it, like our Mama Peggy will always say. And I say every time that angels and spirits never built any nation. We talk about traveling abroad and talk about the Japa syndrome, but there is a call to nation building. There is judgment coming on all of us, whether you're a Muslim, you're a Christian. You must realize that every Friday we are heading towards the mosque and on Sunday heading towards church. And yet we have a nation that is degraded, with statistics showing that we're one of the poorest and the highest out-of-school children, which predominantly is in the north, but we have them in the east, the west, and the south. But this afternoon, we want to challenge you. There's a call for action. Margaret Mead, one of the philosophers of this world, and a quote that we normally quote in INT as part of our main quote is that never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that has ever changed. We have seen a few of us rise up institutionally, trying to change at least the fabric of an institution. For example, we have our beloved Mrs. Allen Kajina in Uganda that changed the Uganda revenue from minus to 300%. And she was able to make sure that contribution was made to the budget. We have our Dr. Segun Adaju talking about renewable energy. And we have our different architect Benite trying to do raise a new set of skilled workmen for the building industry. Our professor himself leading change even in the agricultural sector. But no matter what we are doing, it's not enough for your activities. Activities have never changed a nation. The nation is changed by a group of people coming together with profound understanding of how societies are built. And that's why I've asked, Mr. Otibe, were you able to put something on? Okay, if you can't, I don't really need my spotlight. Okay, just share it so that I'll just conclude with that very quickly. Societal building predominantly has the family, education, and religion at the very base of creating the mind, the child, and the individual who eventually influences other places. But in recent time, we realize that even media has become a powerful player in shaping culture and mind. No matter what you want to do in a society, you have to change how people think about their own life and who they are on earth. They must realize going to heaven is not the final objective, it's changing earth that must happen. They must have the philosophy to live together and change the mindset. How do you change mindset? The elites must come together. Work together, no matter what you're doing at your individual level. You cannot change Nigeria. We have to come together to push policy, to advocate, lobby, send men and women who have the sense into political arenas to make the right decision. The values in which we operate, like has been said by Auntie Alero, has been said by our DG and many of our speakers, including even Prof. Akin Pelumi. Many of us must understand that values must happen. How do you change value? The transformational leader, Bond says, must change perceptions, must change values. Whatever you're doing, if the mindset of the people are not changing, I don't care if you give them $1 and $10 in their hands, they will still go back to where they came from. We must begin to make value cultural. Nigerians cannot go abroad, come back home and behave like fools. We are more than that. In the whole world, one Nigeria in every 5 Black people. We are exceptional. We have built institutions. We have supported government. We are in every place we go to. But our nation is in ruin. So no matter how successful you are, our country needs our attention. So we are calling all elites to action. The Institute for National Transformation is a base camp to raise exceptional leaders that can work together with others and change the framework of a nation. It's about the entire frame. You can't just, yes, build the different walls in front of you, but the walls must be linked up. And that's what happened in Europe 250 years ago in America, 500 years ago in Germany, 400 years ago all over Europe. Men took the fabric of a nation. And like John Wesley would say, your individual conversion or character must lead to a functionality or regeneration of a society. England, once upon a time, their children were begging like they are mandarin within the northern Nigerian. But the elite class took responsibility. Their medical care was stinking to the high heaven. Florence Nightingale took responsibility. ending slavery, Wilberforce took responsibility, but they never did it alone. And that's why many of them pushed for politics. Many of them entered the gates of societal politics, whether at chairman, local government level, at the legislative level. If we cannot always all be president, we can all move to change the fabric of the nation. Our people's mindset, the media, entertainment industry, you need to help us change our people's mindset. Business sector, our business is hostile to the businesses that we have. We literally cripple people in business sectors in Nigeria. There's something that has to be done with our policy, whereby people have access to money to get their mortgages, to get a better life. The people who live abroad, they are not better than us. It's just that they love their country to crazy and they are willing to die for it. A professor left everything to come to Nigeria. Yes, you should japa, but your japa should be a project to make your national, your nation better. Wherever you go, whether you go to Canada, you go to America, every time you will be called a Canadian, Nigerian, American, Nigerian, British. Something about your Niger will not go. And so today we are challenging you. We are calling you that the world wants to drink from Africa, drink from Nigeria. What are we trading out? What are we giving? Yes, you have built a great institution. Yes, you are doing something around the corner. But who are you working with? How are you linking to push policy, advocate for new political mindsets that can make decisions that will embody all of us? The great people who brought change to everywhere in the world, first of all, they were never political. It is later on they seized political power. Gandhi never became president, but he shaped India. Until today, India has never had a coup. Indians are going from one change level to the other. Men like Tata seized opportunity. He never was in political power, but he changed the framework of business in India. So you and I, we cannot just talk about only the political aspect. There are different spheres of influence that must influence each other and push for a new Nigeria. So we call you to action. There's no more time to sit down. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. And God bless indeed the Institute for National Transformation. Thank you, Prof, for raising the generator. And we know for sure we are moving and that critical mass is arising to shape this nation. Thank you and God bless you.
Our only audacious woman of purpose. I did not introduce her because she's a face and a voice known all over the world. Our sister is the founder of Precious Jewel Ministries, and she's also a senior faculty trainer at the Institute. She's a wife and a mother of 2 lovely children. She's done a lot of things in different areas of business, education, and of course, ministry. Without Reverend Jane INT, we will be missing a jewel. Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you, Mama T. Thank you very much and well done.
We will be quickly, we must apologize for the time management. We're just about 19, 18 minutes on the overflow of the timing. We wanted to finish this summit at 2 o'clock, but we just want to ask you for your patience. Just give us about another 10 minutes to round up because it's very important. It's only those who waited till the end that are going to get a free ticket, a masterclass free ticket. So count yourself blessed that you waited till the end. I'm going to bring back a woman we saw right from the beginning of our summit, our astute and articulated country executive director, Mrs. Bukola Femi Ajala, will come up to round up this wonderful day of the summit. She'll be giving us her vote of thanks and information about our Institute, INT.
Yes, thank you so much. What a beautiful ending. very punchy. I was on looking at the recordings, looking at the interactive sessions, and then of course the punchline with Reverend J. I want to say thank you all for everybody. In the next 2 minutes, I just want to introduce INT. We do not want to assume that everybody knows INT, and I just want to run through just about four, five slides within the next 1 minute. So these are the founders of INT. We've met Prof, and Mama Peggy is always behind, but I can imagine what Prof was telling Mama Peggy in this picture, that we are together. And then of course it started in Nigeria, and this is where we are in the continents. Yes, so we have Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, Rwanda, USA, UK, and Ivory Coast. So what's our vision? Our vision is to transform families, organizations, communities, and nations to their highest levels of performance and achievement. And then, of course, what are we set to do? What's our mission? We want to raise value-based, no excuse leaders of responsibility, integrity, compassion, and excellence, who will then transform their families, organizations, communities, and nations. Then you must be wondering what our core values are. Our core values, we call it RICE, R-I-C. It's not the rice you eat, but it's R for responsibility in taking action, I for integrity in character, C for compassion in outlook, and of course, E for excellence in executing assignments. So what do we do? It's a training outfit. We want to release transformational leaders. And how do we go about it? We have the transformational leadership course, which those who stay behind will have, take advantage of that, because we're going to have a masterclass in July. Then we have the Oak Seed Executive Leadership course. That's a 6-month course. And for those that will attend the masterclass, we will give them access to the Module 1 to have a preview of that. Then we have the History Makers class. That is a fully residential weekend. And I can tell you, everybody who has gone in, when they come out, they are not the same. They are much better ready to take up their responsibility. And then we have the specialized leadership courses. These are the ones that we do for corporate bodies. So if you want us to come into your environment, your corporate organizations, your churches, whatever outfit you have, yes, we will sit with you, and then we will design a leadership course. And I can tell you, your members, your staff will never be the same again. They will be there for progress, profitability. And then, of course, we have the summer camp, because we know that Nigeria is a youthful population. 70% of our youth, 70% of our population are youth. So we also have that. We have the summer camp leadership courses. And of course, I also want to end with this. Reverend J also used it. It's one of the punchlines that we use in INT, that never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, and that's by Margaret Mead. And with this, I want to appreciate everyone. I want to stop so that you can actually see my full face. I want to, and then of course, if you look at the chat, the feedback form is there. Utibe, can you kindly put up the flyer for the masterclass? While the flyer is on, I will be giving my appreciation. And then, of course, if you look at the chat, there is a feedback form. So for everyone who wants to have access to the masterclass, it's free. It's worth 75,000 naira actually, but we're doing it free because this is the Summit 25, and then you're going to have access to Module 1 of our Oak Seed Executive leadership course. That's a 6 months, but you are going to have access to that. However, yes, so this is the free masterclass, which is July 5th. We will love you to fill the feedback form so that we can get in touch with you. And I also want to use this now to just appreciate everybody. Firstly, I want to thank God for making this day possible. It can only be God, and we give all the glory and all the praise to Him. Then I want to thank the speakers. We have Madam Alero, Aida Otobo. Actually, she was on the call at some point. And then Mr. Praise Fowowe, Professor Patutomi, Pastor Itogalo, Mrs. Moraya Afolabi Brown, Pastor Ayotunde Yoloye. I'm not sure if he's still around because I cited him as well on the call. And then, of course, we have Pastor Akipelu. We also want to thank every one of you. As far as we are concerned, you are special. You are a dignitary because we invited you and you honored our invitation. So we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging us and thank you for staying to this time. We actually had over 600 people register, but we know not everybody that registers come, they will now go behind the scenes to say, please, can you send in the recording? Because we started getting those alerts that please, can you send in the recording? But it's fine. It's an era of technology and we also embrace technology, but we want to specially thank you for staying on till this time. Thank you very much. And then, of course, we have the gentlemen of the press. We want to say thank you also for coming. We want to thank our international DG and his wife. There's something about the international DG. He's the leader that will eat last. He will tell everybody to go and get their food, and then he will eat last. But this time around, we are bringing you out, to say thank you. Thank you so much for depositing so much in us, bringing out the lion in.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. She's the Chief of Administration International. And then, of course, we have the governing board, the International Governing Board. Want to say thank you. And then, of course, we have the Nigerian board members led by our dear Dr. Philip Igunijesu. We want to say thank you. And our senior faculty, of course, you see Reverend J. PO is somewhere at the back. We call him PO, Prince Olubele. And then, of course, all our faculty members. Thank you also for the INT leaders for doing great. I mean, I was on the line with Dr. Dogara, the Jagaban of Gan, and he kept trying to come in. I mean, it was really angry. But I said that's not a problem. That all the other leaders, took the question. So I want to thank Dr. Calvin Atonza. We want to thank Dr. Shegun Adaju. We want to thank Mrs. Shola. Actually, Mrs. Shola is part of the team. But we want to say thank you. And of course, we want to say thank you to our Dr. Charles Abraham. And of course, my darling sister, we want to say thank you to Pastor Mrs. Bumi Ibinijese. And then, of course, we want to thank the INT alumni all over the world. And of course, sweet appreciation to our Nigerian family. And then we want to thank the Alumni Board, Alumni Association, and then, of course, the executive team, and of course, the production team, led by Trama. Now, NEPA has done his good. It's fine. So we thank God for that. We want to thank the production team. And of course, we also want to thank that should be the June 12th summit led by Lady T and of course the INT staff. Thank you so much for everyone. I want to say God bless you and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria and God bless all of us. Thank you so much. Over to you, Lady T.
Thank you so much. I have a wonderful, an army, not even one, just wonderful, an army of comrades that we're working with. You just need to join INT. You need to come on board so that we can make all what we have spoken about through different speakers and through our own leaders come to a realization. Thank you so much for staying on. You saw that flyer. It is going to be yours, a free masterclass. I repeat it again. Thank you for being with us. I am humbled to be the one who signs off with the pledge because everything in Nigeria is bound in that pledge. It is a prayer. So let us all just stand still and listen to that prayer and take it back to our rooms when we lie down on our pillows and think about what it is we will do for Nigeria. God bless. God bless and God bless. The pledge.
We can recite it.
All right. So
Nigeria. We pledge to Nigeria, my country.
country,
to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory.
And her glory. So
So help me God.
So the Lord will help us. We have done it. This is what we do in INT. We are representative of God's kingdom on earth. So as many people as want to come on board, please, just they must be. Can we have the email? Our email. Can we have our email on the chat, please? Can we have our email on the chat so that for those who want to email us, and the telephone number, the contact telephone number for our office in Lagos and Uyo, can I have the numbers on the chat, please?
Yes, Tracy can do that, but we will send the recording to everyone who has registered.
All right.
Yes, we will send that. And then Reverend J actually mentioned the assessment form for with an Airlight and all that. We would also send that to their mailboxes, but we will do more for those who come in for the masterclass.
So you've heard it all. Have a lovely day. For me, it's waking up time in Canada. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, INT. We really love you and personally appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.